Kansas City is home to so many unique wildlife species and landscapes that it provides its citizens with wonderful nature viewing opportunities. Unfortunately, a variety of threats are facing Kansas City wildlife, including, but not limited to, invasive species, climate change, pollution, and habitat loss due to development. All of these factors are changing the natural landscape of Kansas City and its ability to support native wildlife. Invasive species are the largest threat to Kansas City ecosystems, wildlife, and biodiversity as a whole. Invasive species are any organism that is not native which invades new habitats, spreads, and causes ecological or economic harm. They are capable of causing extinctions of native plants and animals, reducing biodiversity, competing with native species for limited resources, and altering habitats. Invasive species in Kansas City have typically been introduced by humans both unintentionally and intentionally. They can be unintentionally introduced into Kansas City ecosystems through people unknowingly bringing them back after traveling, or by them hitchhiking a ride on goods and vehicles shipped across the world. They can be intentionally introduced by people who are planting non-native ornamental plants through the pet trade and through managers using them to control pest species. Within Kansas City, the invasive species that pose the greatest threats to native wildlife are Japanese honeysuckle, Bradford pear trees, spotted lanternfly, emerald ash borer, and domesticated cats. Japanese honeysuckle was introduced to the United States intentionally as an ornamental vine as a means of erosion control in 1806 in New York. By the early 1900s, it had spread to Kansas City, and it now plays a devastating role in altering and destroying natural understory and herbaceous layers of prairies, floodplains, glades, and upland forests. One effect of its takeover is that it allows a greater amount of light to reach the understory, which changes species composition of entire habitats. The best methods for controlling Japanese honeysuckle are mowing, grazing, prescribed burning, and herbicides. You can help play an important role in protecting our natural communities by removing any Japanese honeysuckle on your own property or by contacting your regional Missouri Department of Conservation office to report findings and receive help in removal. Bradford pear trees originated from southern Asia, but were introduced to the United States in the 1960s as an ornamental plant. They quickly became popular to plant in newly developed areas and neighborhoods thanks to their fast growth, adaptability, and pretty white spring flowers. Unfortunately, these trees are highly invasive and both destroy habitat and compete with native plants and animals. You can help control the invasiveness of Bradford pear trees within Kansas City by removing any trees on your property and by choosing native tree species to beautify your home instead. Other similar native trees that you can plant instead to benefit the Kansas City environment include serviceberry, yellowwood, redbud, and hornbeam. Spotted lanternfly populations have not yet been reported within either Missouri or Kansas. However, they have been spreading across the United States since their introduction approximately 10 years ago. Should this species enter the Kansas City area, they pose a huge threat to both native wildlife and the area's wine industry. This species loves to infest vineyards and orchards and would significantly harm the area's tourism economy by destroying these production systems. Some identifying features of the spotted lanternfly include the gray and black spotted forewings and wingtips, which are reticulated black blocks outlined in gray. The hind wings have contrasting patches of red and black with a white band. You can help prevent the spread of this species in Kansas City by keeping an eye out for sightings of them. If you think you have seen a spotted lanternfly, take a picture of it, capture it if you can, place it in a vial filled with alcohol to preserve it, make note of where it was found, and contact your county's conservation office. The emerald ash borer is an exotic beetle from Asia that was discovered in North America near Detroit, Michigan in the summer of 2002. The adult beetles nibble on ash foliage, causing little damage. However, the larvae feed on the inner bark of ash trees, which disrupt the tree's ability to transport water and nutrients and eventually kill it.
The emerald ash borer probably arrived in the United States on solid wood packing materials carried over in cargo ships or airplanes arriving from Asia. It is most likely spread by hitchhiking on firewood transported amongst homes and recreation areas in at least 35 states. It was first discovered in Missouri in July 2008. Since its discovery in the U.S., the emerald ash borer has killed hundreds of millions of ash trees in at least 35 states. It has also caused regulatory agencies to enforce quarantines and fines to prevent potentially infested ash trees, logs, or firewood from moving out of areas where the emerald ash borer occurs. It has also cost municipalities, property owners, nursery operators, and forest products industries millions of dollars. To report a possible emerald ash borer infestation, you can contact your county's conservation office. When allowed outside, domestic cats act as a major invasive species and are actually listed as one of the top 100 invasive species worldwide by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Cats compete with wild native predators for small prey, spread diseases such as rabies, feline leukemia, and toxoplasmosis, and decimate bird populations. In fact, they are known for killing over 4 billion birds in the U.S. every year and are responsible for the extinctions of dozens of species worldwide. To help prevent the destruction of more Kansas City species, you can keep your cat inside, educate friends and family about the devastating impacts cats have on wildlife, and call animal control to remove any feral cats found in your neighborhood. Climate change is another factor causing harmful impacts on ecosystems and economies across the globe. It is leading to increased global surface temperatures, sea level rise, increased severity of storms, and species loss. In Kansas City specifically, climate change is causing longer and more frequent droughts, increased intensity of summer storms, increased erosion, increased flash flooding potential, and shift in species compositions due to temperature changes. While these impacts are certainly important, they aren't expected to result in high rates of species extinction in Kansas City, thanks to the resiliency of Kansas City's ecosystems and the ability for other native species to take over the niches and roles of lost species. Pollution is also an area of concern within Kansas City. In 2017, the Kansas City metro area was listed as the 46th most ozone-polluted city in the United States. Thankfully, recent regulation changes have addressed this problem, and air quality in the area has improved. By 2018, Kansas City was only listed as the 62nd most ozone-polluted city in the United States. This is still an issue for both Kansas City citizens and wildlife, but efforts are being made to continue improving pollution in the area. Water quality is also an area of concern in the rivers and streams surrounding Kansas City. Pollution results in the death of approximately 100 fish killing events each year in the Kansas City area. You can help protect Kansas City from pollution by limiting your use of single-use plastics, supporting the use of green energy, and limiting your use of herbicides and pesticides in your lawns and gardens. Habitat loss due to development is another threat facing the local ecosystems and wildlife in Kansas City. Habitat loss results in decreased natural spaces for wildlife and fragments the remaining habitats, which can result in isolated, smaller populations that are at a higher risk for experiencing extinction. Solutions for this are implementing sustainable development practices and the creation of habitat corridors. Both of these solutions will result in better ability for the dispersal of wildlife and less destruction to ecosystems and landscapes. In conclusion, the most important conservation steps that you can take as a Kansas City citizen are planting native species in your gardens, keeping an eye out for invasive species, and reporting any sightings to your county conservation office, removing invasives when possible, and encouraging others to do the same. You can also help to reduce the impacts of climate change by reducing your energy consumption, using renewable energy sources when possible, and by reducing your use of single-use plastics, pesticides, and herbicides. For more information and to get involved, check out Kansas City Wildlands project page at bridgingthegap.org. Through this local conservation organization, you have the opportunity to make a real and profound difference in Kansas City's environment and to protect it for generations to come.